while we often associate the state of the economy with politics, it plays an important part of business as well. Today, Jesse will help us understand where our economy is and where it can take it. The title of Jesse's speech is The Experience Economy. It's speech number 5 from Speaking to Inform, and it's the abstract concept, and it's 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, welcome to Jesse.
Did you notice that? She said economy, and everybody stayed here. Thank you for that. Now, Patrick, before you get too excited, this is not about politics. Calm down. Thank you for being very judicious today. We'll actually be speaking about the economy more from a business perspective. I would like to start with an example of my grandfather. He returned from World War II in 1945 and started homesteading land in Wyoming. He started with only 80 acres at the time and eventually grew that to over 1,000 acres. And as he did that, he cultivated crops like wheat, barley, beans, and then he also added cows to that eventually to be butchered. Yay for McDonald's. I can tell you that many times when the crops didn't work out that my grandfather was trying to cultivate, those cows really made a difference in saving his life. If my grandfather were still alive today, he would be part of a minority of farmers. Back in the mid-1700s, almost everyone was farmers. This is what we called the agrarian economy or agricultural economy. 80% of people in the workforce were farmers. Then there was a change, and that shifted in about the mid-1850s to an industrial economy, where things began to be more about manufacturing. So in my grandfather's case, where he was actually cultivating and growing his product, we began manufacturing products. And that continued for about another 100 years until the mid-1950s. In the 1950s is where we saw a tip, and more than 50% of people were working in services. We became a service economy. Now, according to Joseph Pine and James Gilmore, today those numbers have still changed. About 3% of the working population are farmers, part of that agrarian economy. Only 17% are still in manufacturing. 80% are part of the service economy. Now, John A. Goodman, I have to specify John A. Goodman because we've heard of John Goodman, not that John Goodman. John A. Goodman says that we're on the brink of something new, which he defines as the experience economy. This is the next level. Now, I'd like to dissect this a little bit further today because a lot of people confuse these two things between service and experience. Especially where I work in customer service and with customer experience, you hear people put these words together, saying things like a customer service experience. But today we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into how these two differ. I have listed here what I consider as the 7 points of an experience. They are the product, price, promotion, place, the point of contact, the processes, and the people. Let's take a quick look at how all of these take place. A couple of years ago, for our anniversary, I wanted to take my wife out to a nice dinner. Not that I don't usually take her out to a nice dinner. I wanted something really nice, really nice dinner, something I had never done before. So I asked someone at work, I said, what's the best place that you've ever eaten at? And they said, the Roof Restaurant in Salt Lake. I said, all right, I'll check out the Roof Restaurant. So that was word of mouth. That's part of the promotion. And as we've talked about, word of mouth can be one of the best kinds of advertising or promotion that you can receive. So what was the next step? I went to the point of contact. I went to their website to find out more about what I needed to do. I looked at the price. It's about $50 a person. Now, I don't know about you, but $50, that's a lot of weight out of my wallet. I can take my wife to Applebee's and we can both eat for 20 bucks. So to be spending $50 each, I was starting to sweat. Whew. But I decided I really love her. I really want to make this special. She's worth it. Then we have the place. As you arrive, we've all been to Temple Square, I think, probably. Has anyone here not been to Temple Square? Okay, that makes it easy. We all know what I'm talking about. Who's dined in the Roof restaurant before? Okay, you two are missing out. It's a fantastic experience. You're 10 stories up. You're right next to the Salt Lake City Temple. You have a great view of Temple Square from anywhere in the restaurant. So they have a great place set up. Then there are the people. There's someone at the front desk to help you. There is a woman playing nice music on the piano to really add to the environment. You have servers that are coming around offering you bread, as well as servers at the buffet being part of their process and how they are delivering their product, which is that fantastic food. So this is an experience. This is everything from when I heard about them to when I left. Let's dissect this a little bit further. So we can see that service is an important part of that. If we look at each of these points, service is something that happens with people. It's interactive, it's interpersonal. Service really only takes up about this much of the experience. The experience, however, can start over here and it lasts throughout. So why then do we make such a big deal about customer service? Let me give you another brief example. A friend of mine explained to me that his wife wanted to start kickboxing. I don't know why kickboxing was the sport that she wanted to get into. Maybe she felt like she needed to fend him off at night. I don't know. But here's what he explained to me. He said he got online. We're going to use, this is happy face right here. This is sad face, meaning not so fantastic. He got online and he looked at their website. So let's trace his journey. And he said that they had a really fantastic website. The price was decent, but when he walked into the facility, it was really kind of gross and dirty, and things started to really go downhill. But then when he met the people, they were really nice and friendly, and they had a great process set up where he could try it out for a week before committing, and he ended up enjoying the product. So let's look at a different scenario. Let's assume that that it was a mediocre website, that it was a mediocre point of contact, but they still offered great service. Oftentimes, that would still be enough for us to decide to do business with those people. Now, let's look at one last example, if you can decipher my lines. If everything was fantastic and the service was terrible, would we go back? Usually not. That's part of the reason that we put so much focus on customer service, but it's important to recognize that service is only a fraction of the entire experience. I've often thought of it as service is about satisfaction. It's about creating loyalty with your customers. The experience is about creating relationships with people. As I've mentioned before, my wife and I have 7 children. That means that for dinner time, there are 9 mouths to feed. So once in a while, my wife would appreciate it if I just dropped by Little Caesars on the way home, picked up a couple of $5 pizzas, and hey, you don't need to make dinner because I brought it home. I had an experience where I did just this. This was a couple of years ago. I went to Little Caesars. I wanted 2 pizzas and a cheesy bread. She said, okay, the pizzas are ready, but it'll be a few minutes for the cheesy bread. Is that okay? Now, this always frustrates me when they say, is that okay? Because it's not okay. But I said, yeah, that's fine, I'll wait. She took my pizzas out of the oven. She put them up on the rack. And I waited and waited. 5 minutes went by. 10 minutes went by. 14 minutes after I had ordered, I got my cheesy bread. Now it would have been pretty easy just to say, you know what, I don't want the cheesy bread, give me the pizza, right? But then I wouldn't have this great story to tell you. Now I've worked in the pizza industry and I know that it doesn't take that long for a cheesy bread to go through the oven. That means that when she said, sorry, we're all out, it's in the oven, it wasn't even in the oven. And it was probably a few minutes before it even got put in the oven. Now here's what's interesting. A couple of weeks ago, one of my kids said, let's go to Little Caesars. And my wife said, ugh, yuck. Because after that experience, I broke up with Little Caesars. And you've had this happen before, right? You've been in a relationship, you really like somebody, but sometimes when it's over, when it's a messy breakup, you don't even want to hear their name. You don't want to think about them at all. And that's part of the reason that you have to create a great experience and make great relationships. Now let's look at the other side of this. My grandfather, he always talked about how much he loved shopping at the tractor dealership because they took such great care of him there. He needed a part replaced and couldn't go, so he sent my grandmother in to replace the part for him. When they asked her what part she needed, or for what tractor is it for, she said, the green one. They knew which tractor it was. Exactly. It's because the green one was a John Deere, and they knew which John Deere my grandfather owned. So here's my challenge for you. Evaluate where you are. Are you in the service economy? And are you okay with that? Or would you like to move toward the experience economy? Remember that service is about satisfaction. But in the experience economy, the same way that my grandfather cultivated crops, you're cultivating relationships. Thank you.